Hey guys, thanks for stopping. Today I have a problem with my white ink. You'll find with UV printers that the white ink always seems to be the problem. I've already gone through the process of troubleshooting to figure out what part that I believe is broken with my printer. Now you can see a link to that video in my description below, or I'll post a card right here. You can click on that and it will take you to that video. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this printhead out and show you the flushing process. First I want to make sure we're flushed. Is ink actually flowing through the printhead? Is the printhead cleaned or clogged? You know, I don't know. Maybe the cables to the printhead could be bad. I don't know because I haven't taken it out yet. So I'm going to actually take this printhead out and I'm going to show you those steps. Then we're going to give it a deep flush and put it back in and see if it works. Otherwise we're going to have to replace the head. Let's check it out. Okay, before we dive into this, I want to point out to avoid clogs and whatnot in your printhead. I would suggest high quality ink, which is the ink that I use. I'm going to post a link in the description to where this is from so you guys know where to get good quality UV ink. Then also we are working on xp600, Epson's xp600 printheads. So we'll only want to run Epson ink, of course. And then this is an Epson xp600 printhead. These run roughly about $300 for a good one. Like this here. I'll show you a link where to get these as well. I always keep a spare one or two on hand. But anyways, we are looking to remove our dampers off the top of this. So just stepping through this, we're going to remove our dampers off the top of this, remove these 4 screws in the corners, and then that should free our printhead. Okay, it's important that the power is turned off for this. You can see it's off. We have a loose printhead that we can move. And it takes a flathead screwdriver. So we're working on the whites. Let me move this over to the white. There we go. Our whites are an issue. So we'll go ahead and pull this off with our dampers, one at a time. Just wiggling back and forth, front to back. So they pump. No fastening, anything like those. Now these might drip a little bit of white ink, so it's a good idea to get a little baggie to put these in while we work on the printhead. Okay, now here are the 4 screws. And that whole thing should lift right out. Go ahead and plug this. Okay, so I have out my old white one. You can see here it's got white on the bottom of it. It's got white all up on where our dampers plug into. It's a little scratched up. I don't know if you can see. You see how glossy that's not. Still have the screws in some of these. Let me get those knocked out real quick. I want to point out that a good printhead should cost about $300 for. They're not new, believe it or not. Good quality one that you spend about $300 for is going to last you maybe 6 months running through a UV printer. They're not really designed to run UV ink, whereas printheads that are designed to run UV ink last maybe 1 year, year and a half before you have to replace them. So this is the used one. They're going to clean this up, see this will be scratched and stuff like that for a used one. So make sure you're getting a good quality printhead and someone's not just cleaning up an old nasty used one like this and going to sell it to you. So I got a link in the description to a reputable place that I buy my printheads from in the description to make sure you're getting a good quality refurbished printhead. So let's go ahead and flush this out and see if we can't get it working because it might not be any good. I don't know. Let's find out. Okay, to perform this flush, you're going to need, for UV ink, denatured alcohol. Don't buy all these special fluids. You don't need them. Denatured alcohol is my go-to. It's what I've been told by the manufacturers to use. So stop wasting your money. So open up your denatured alcohol. By the way, this stuff's like $5 for this big can. You need a syringe. This is not a special syringe. This is a syringe with a piece of hose attached to it, which is actually the ink, the hose for the ink for my machine. To cut a small section off of there. So it's going to pull up denatured alcohol. And So we'll pull in a full syringe of denatured alcohol. We may fill this up a couple of times, and we'll probably flush 5 milliliters or so through each part, see how that works. All right, so I'm pretty upset with myself. I lost my recording, but I have another print head here that is actually dead. It had a print head strike. We'll pull it out, and I'll show you how to clean it. This one was struck right here. Totally killed this print head. So, and this will just go right here. It actually should push right on. I don't want to ruin my desk, guys. This will go here, push right on to the part sticking up, like this. Put this here so you guys can see it. And I'm just going to apply some pressure, but not so much pressure that this hose blows off. So I'm going to apply pressure, and you can see the ink start to roll out of there. There's my yellow channel. Same thing. Ooh, blue channel. Let's do red here. I'm going to turn this so you can see just a little differently here. Black. I'm just using this syringe here to apply it. But you can see I'm not pushing so hard. You can push if there's a clog, there'll be resistance in here. You can apply some pressure, but applying too much will just make this hose blow off, and then denatured alcohol will blow all over the place, which is not what we're looking for. We'll go ahead and install this, because if I'm running 4 ports instead of 6, at least my white ink's working a little bit until we can get a replacement in here, which I have a replacement, but this is what I would do if I didn't have a replacement. I'm gonna go ahead and replace the 2 flat wires that are on this, because that could also be the problem. So I'm gonna go dig those out. Again, I have a good resource for those if you need them in the description below. By the way, you need a 29 pin flat ribbon cable for your XP600 print head, and every time you pull your print head, I suggest you replace it, although you don't have to. They're relatively inexpensive, just to make sure everything's working the way they are. You should keep a couple of extra of these. You can see why. You see this little bit of ink right here, and this little bit of ink on these. That actually might corrupt my cable. And that cable might be why I wasn't printing white ink, because it's kind of gross. It could very well be why. So I'm gonna replace them regardless. And just in case you forget, this is the front of your print head. So therefore this is the left of the print head, and this is the right of the print head. So your print head board will say left and right, and that's where you plug the cables into, left and right. So the part with the wall that comes up to the back, so left and right. And then print head 1, I'll show you real quick. So print head 1 is the very first print head on my machine. This is print head 2, this would be print head 3, this would be print head 4, and so forth if you have 8 print heads or whatever many print heads you might have. So 1, 2, 3, so that's the way that this is. We print head 1, 2, 3, and you plug it into the corresponding spot on the print head board. So I'm going to go ahead and load this up. That could very well be the problem. So I'm going to go ahead and load this up into the print head here. Cable goes up, or actually down. I have the print head upside down. Don't drop it. They're expensive. There we go. Okay, I'm going to plug this back in there, and we're going to work in reverse, except for there's one step I want to check before we put the dampers back on. Left side of the print head goes to the left side. Right side of the print head goes goes to the right side. By the way, if you're running a printhead, if you're running a similar printer to mine, you'll have this little guy over it. So you'll have this hole here, and you have to remove those screws. That'll flip the door head up, and that'll expose your printhead down here. Then there's 5 screws around the whole side here, and this whole thing picks up off of your machine. You can see something like this. Holding picks up off of your machine, you take it off, you fold it up like this, you put it underneath your printer, and you never put it back on, because you're going to be fixing these all the time. So that's how you remove the door. Okay, so these dampers here, I might have pulled them off. Okay, everybody's hunky-dory. I pulled them all off. I actually want to make sure that we don't have any air bubbles in them, since they've been off for however long it took me to record this video. So we're going to go to every damper, and we're going to pull ink out of every single one of them. Now mine have a Y on it, and I'm going to go show you real quick how I deal with that. So here's the Y right here, and you can see one hose goes to 2 dampers. I actually like to flip my dampers upright like this. Put my thumb over one of them and pull ink. And by the way, ink should be pretty easy to come through these. About half my syringe and stop. And you see no bubbles came through that, so that damper was good. Now we'll put our thumb over this one and pull the same amount of ink through this. That's really super easy. Okay. Now we'll put the dampers on. This ink is still good. I'm gonna go put it in the ink well. My printer back on. So I think my print head might be okay. By the way, it's important to make sure you have all the air out of the lines, all the air out of the damper. If not, when you pull suction, it might actually pull air in back into your print head and dry something out, or just it won't print right. It's just gonna drive you crazy. Just make sure that you have ink everywhere before this next step. All right, now what we've gotta do is go to Print EXP, up to Settings, and we want to load ink into printhead 1, because I was doing my white printhead, which it says printhead 1. And we'll press load. What this is gonna do is it's gonna suck through the ink pad or the capping station on printhead 1 until you tell it to stop. And that's how we'll load ink into the printhead. So we'll press load ink. Now we'll walk over to here. I don't know if you'll be able to hear this, but you can feel this. I just like to put my hands on these hoses, and you'll start feeling it shake when it has ink loaded. And you might hear the sound through the vacuum punch there. And it's still set. Oop. It's coming. You hear it? Not coming through now. Oh, there it is. Oh, come. Kind of hit and miss at the moment. You guys, I didn't think about this until after I was done recording, but you don't have to take the printhead out to flush it. You can leave the printhead in the machine and flush it. I wanted to double check my cables because it legitimately was printing no white ink. So you could just leave the printhead in there, all bolted in. Make sure your machine's powered off for all of this, but you could leave the printhead in there and just move the printhead over by hand and flush it right there onto a paper towel and get the same results. So hopefully that helps. I'm Jay, this is my to-do list. I hope this video helped you out. Thanks for stopping by.